Welcome back to the Too Much Hockey Podcast, presented by Boston Pizza. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and we can thank Boston Pizza for joining us because our next guest helped us get this sponsor for a mental health event, and they've been kind of helping us out along the way ever since. And our next guest is he's a longtime NHLer, and he's a very successful real estate agent in the Dallas area. And I think you kind of dip your toe maybe in the Edmonton area, but we'll see how that is. But we have Vernon Fiddler with us. Fids, how's it going, buddy?
Good, Bosco. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Yeah, just enjoying some hockey, enjoying some days off here, and yeah, just gonna meet some kids this week. We had a good Dallas Star teammate, friend, and all that. I don't know how much you know Matt Duchesne. I know you guys live in the same city, so maybe you guys gotten to connect. But gonna meet some kids this week and get some sticks dropped off to them. But that'll be pretty cool. A little initiative that our podcast kind of started. But and then things are busy. I know you were just here watching Blake play and kind of all over the place with Bella too and life. So how was that? How's the family? How's
Good. Yeah, we've been, we were obviously it was on a standstill waiting on the news for Blake on World Juniors. He went to that camp in Plymouth and in Ottawa, and we were just waiting to see where we were going to spend our Christmas. And, he got sent home, which is part of the process. So we decided we were going to spend a few days in Kelowna or in Dallas, and then head up to Kelowna, and then spent 23rd, 24th, 25th in Kelowna, and then I came up to Edmonton with Blake to watch. They had 3 games in 6 nights, so I got to spend some time with my family for Christmas. And back here in Dallas, we're expecting our first winter storm in a few years, so the city's bracing. There's no bread or milk on the shelves at the grocery stores, and looks like we're gonna get snow Thursday and Friday. So
yeah.
the city will be shut down. I can promise you that.
And you're so used to it anyway, so I guess
Yeah,
you can kind of help out the community and the area you guys live in. So
yeah.
yeah, so I guess for him, like how's in your aspect of what you've been able to see and watching it from close for Blake and but watching from afar, how cool has it kind of been? And obviously somewhat of a pressure part of a draft year too, and kind of keeping a track of like where he's at. And maybe I don't know how much you're keeping track of where he's at in the scouting ranks, but just obviously keeping an eye on him and helping him when he needs that help along the way to throw it a pretty big year for him too.
Yeah, it's I feel like the year is going good for him. Obviously, tons of distractions that just come with the territory. But I feel that Blake's handling it really well. We try to stay out of really all the media and things like that. It's very hard to with the way the world is now. But our message is always like it doesn't matter where you get drafted or how high or where in the draft you're going to go. It's more about like what you can control and what you can bring to the table. And there's been a few distractions with the prospects game having to leave for that. That's leading up to it. There's always some what's it going to be like? I just played for US at Halinka, and now I'm playing against the US. And then then he was very we were excited about the call to the World Junior. So there's another 5-6 days leading up to it with not knowing what to expect for a young 17-year-old boy that is doing interviews and phone calls and things like that with NHL teams. So there's tons of distractions, but I know Blake was just really looking forward to getting back with the Oil Kings after Christmas, um, and just focusing on them getting better every game and making that playoff push, because it's been a few years since they've been able to make the playoffs. And I feel like he's doing good. He's improving at every area we've looked for improvements. He's getting better. He's getting better at defending. He's getting better. His skills are getting better. His skating's getting better. They're helping him with his offensive game, just all around game. And that's what Blake is. He's going to be a two-way guy, log lots of minutes, can join the rush, but he's also got the skill set to be able to, get the pucks off get to the net and, lead the guys into battle. So we're very happy with the path, and we're very happy with the Oil Kings have continued to follow through with his development path. And it's not always how fast
Yeah.
you're going. It's more about what path you're on, if you're going in the right direction. And there are baby steps at all times, and we feel that he's in the right direction, and that just speaks volumes for Kurt Hill and um, uh, the coaching staff with Luke Pierce and Devin Pratt and Kyle Chipchura in Edmonton, where they're keeping him focused and keeping him on the right path when it's very easy to steer off these paths because there's so many distractions. So we're very happy with where he's at right now.
Yeah, obviously with the help that you can and your wife can help with, but a pretty good agency too. Obviously, we do some work with Elaine Waugh and the RSG group. Can you talk about your maybe the comfort that you have with those agents and signing up with that agency for what's going to be an important leading into an important summer here for Blake?
Yeah, they've been outstanding. We're very happy with our selection with that. It's been nothing but a support staff for Blake, and then also obviously me being in the industry. Um, it's not easy for me because this is all new territory for us too. I was never drafted or even talked to an NHL team before I finished junior, but we're very happy. Al's a fearless leader for his group, and you know, Connor Long and Jeff Boston and Shane Corsten. It's a real team effort. Every event we go to, they have they show their faces and show the support, and give Blake the right message about just control what you can control, do your best, not giving him too much information where he's overloaded, and also keeping us in the loop of things that are happening. And we're very happy with our decision that to have them represent Blake. And they always can give you the right information and put you at ease as parents. And I know for Blake, there's nights where he has good nights where they talk to him, but there's also the nights that he has tougher games where I know they reach out to him, and they give him information and reset him where I don't have to, and I can just be his dad and talk about the normal dad thing. So it's really nice on my end too, that I don't have that pressure of dealing with Blake after games.
Yeah, no, I saw Al here at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup in the summertime, and I believe they're the first agency to launch like a mental health program for their players and signing up with the Canadian Mental Health Society. I believe that's what it was, but and obviously very important. Mental health is very important to our podcast, so it's really cool to see that in every aspect that they're there to give that layer of support to the players and their clients and continue to grow. So if people are looking for an agent, I would highly recommend that's the company to go with. So we'll put their email in the show link here to for that. But I want to talk about more minor hockey stuff, Fids, because I know that you last time you were on and a couple times before you talked about the battles you had with Kevin Bieksa, and I don't know if you got to see his comments on Hockey Night in Canada this past Saturday. It was just more or less talking about something that you have done in the Dallas area and other players along the likes of yourself to giving back to the game and helping these kids out in the cities and the communities that you guys live in, and the growth of USA hockey. I want to talk about how much that means to you. I know you're coaching a lot of Blake leading into getting into the Western Hockey League, but you've seen this growth and this push. Not only I know it's always been like the Boston area, the Minnesota area, but the Dallas area, Arizona, and places that you used to play in and currently live in are developing greater hockey players now. And is that gap closing, would you say, with the USA Hockey, obviously with them winning back-to-back World Juniors, but where are you at with the development of USA Hockey and what you've been able to do in giving back to the game and being on the ice with these kids, given that time forward?
Yeah, I do. I think that the programs they've built for these young kids to it starts early. Like, I mean, we have my next door neighbor Jimmy. He's got some grandkids that are 6 and 4, and they're already playing like quarter ice games, and little rookies in here in Dallas, actually against Matt Duchene. They played Matt Duchene's young guy there on Sunday. They were really excited about that. But like it's starting super early. Like it's not like in the state of Texas and down south with these non-traditional teams like Florida and Texas and the Las Vegas. These teams are NHL teams are not only thriving but so are their youth programs. So I go out to the rinks on Sundays because I don't have much to do until Blake's games are on. But I go watch some of these kids, and the skill level you see is phenomenal. But it starts from these ADM sessions that they put on their station work through for these young kids to play during the week. I think they get a couple sessions during the week, and then on the weekends they play like quarter ice games. But you can see the skill level, and not only that, the facilities we have. I believe it's 13 different facilities here in Dallas. So for a southern state, it's there's tons of ice for our boys to find ice and work on their skills. And then there's also these programs which are for the young little rookies, they're during the week, and then after school programs, off campus PE programs where you're getting a credit now for you're going to the hockey academy. There's like after practice programs. I mean, everywhere you see it, but it's a major commitment on the NHL side of it. And Tom Goulardi has just opened up his checkbook, and Brad Albert's the president of the Stars. Like we take pride in it, and it's really caught momentum because how much Lucas Reed, another influential guy in the program here in Dallas, organizing everything. But the reason we have so much momentum is because we take so much pride in it. And there's always politics in minor hockey, but it's not about that here. It's about making these kids better. And we know, and the message we always tell to all of our coaches is these boys and girls at the young age aren't going to play in the NHL next year. They're not going to play junior either. So like, let's develop them, because by the time they get to 14, 15, you find more kids that are going to be able to compete and help our teams win rather than bring kids in. And not only that, we're going to find probably, 20 more kids that are unique athletes and exceptional athletes that can and make a run at going to Division 1 and getting full scholarships and being role models for the younger generation again. Because my son Blake, he had role models in the Jones brothers and Blake Coleman and Stefan Nason, where they come and work out with us now, and those guys were like Wayne Gretzky to for me, I was watching Wayne Gretzky in Edmonton. So these kids are seeing these role models, but now they're wanting to be role models because we have Bickler, who was one of the first picks in the girls league, and tons of girls going to Division 1 and Big Ten schools, not just little schools, but like we have, in Blake's birth year, I think we have 8 or 9 kids playing in the USHL, and then 3 or 4 of the boys playing in the Western League. So like, it's really thriving, but it's a commitment from everybody, and all the coaches have to buy in at the same level. And we just got an outstanding group of people here in all of our programs. We have 4 programs, and everybody sticks together and helps each other out. No matter whether you're at AAA, AA, or single A, we're all trying to make these kids better to get to their ultimate goal, which is play AAA.
That's awesome. It's amazing. Like the whole time you were almost talking about your smiling Fitz. Like it was like
Oh,
great things.
we have a lot of pride in it, and we have tons of alumni involved. And we had 2 boys last year make the development team, and then we had JP Hilbert, who's going to be another top 08. One of the best. He's playing on the development team. I think he's leading the USHL in scoring for well, they're playing in that league. So this kid's born and raised in McKinney or Allen, Texas. So like it's all in the Metroplex, but it's who would have ever thought, right?
Yeah,
We have 2 boys from Texas play on the Halinka team. Like it's usually you get 2 or 3 from Minnesota or New York, but not Texas. So we when we talk about our minor hockey program, we talk about it because we're super proud of it, and we continue to make kids better and continue to put work in it. And we're also very open to ideas to bring in to help them make our programs better. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that, Eric Silverman, who's the president of Dallas Stars Elite, it's always like, how do we make these kids better? Like, how do we make our coaches better? How do we make everybody better? And that's the ultimate goal. And I think that's why you're seeing USA Hockey thrive so much, is these communities are taking a lot more pride in it, rather than having, like a coach that has all the answers, and management that has all the answers, and the directors that have all the answers. No one's perfect, and just if you can work together and find a way to keep everybody included, and then consolidate all the ideas at the end, you see it. The U.S. is thriving. They play with pace, they play with skill, they play with heart, they play with physicality. There's everything there. We got good goaltending. Like, there's just tons of positives, and it was pretty cool to see. Like, I know, like, going to camp, I started checking out who the guys were, and you have a little bit more at stake when your son's there, and then he's also comes back. He's like, Dad, these guys were so awesome to me. As the youngest guy there, it's like, just want them to win. They just deserve to win. So we cheered pretty hard for the U.S. team throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that's obviously a good story with Coach Carl, and obviously what he went through, where he couldn't, he's had to kind of put his career on hold and turn into a good coaching career. And we'll see what NHL teams come calling, or if he is comfortable where he's at. That'll be a good, interesting story to follow as the summer goes on. But I want to. What do you guys do to help your coaches get better kids there? What is there certain programs that they go through, or is there certain things that training that they go through as well? Or
Yeah, well, they have, like, I know there's a Monday coaching meeting, and they go through a lot of things, and then this past couple summers they've been offering the coaches to go to coaches clinic. I know there was one in Detroit. The NHL association puts on, so they're just trying to get them more involved in learning how to you know bring in some new ideas, or whether it's in the dressing room culture or things like that. They're just trying to push that a little bit more on our coaches, so that we're a little bit more up to date on some of the new trends that are going on, and some of the things that these coaches have to offer for culture and dressing room and things like that.
yeah, well, that's pretty cool to see. And obviously, yeah, did you ever think at some point when you were playing, obviously Arizona, Dallas, all these other places, that this would get to this level? Is that obviously a push for you to, and kind of going back? I know you guys moved back to Canada after you retired, but then moved back to the US. And obviously getting that development in for Blake, but also that itch to kind of keep giving back to the community, because you're
Yeah, it's when I mean I see it in Nashville too, because actually all three of those states I played in are thriving. Like, even it's sad to see the Coyotes leave Arizona, but I know they have a really good president, and we always have friendly games against them. And I know their program is coached, like Steve Sullivan and Taylor Pyatt and Dallas Drake. Like, these are some of the coaches that are involved in that program in Arizona. And then in Nashville, you got JP Dumont, who's the president of the minor hockey there. So, like, these kids are influenced by the right people. And the older teams in Nashville, the 18s and the 16s, I know are doing really well. They're still working on the younger groups, but that's a work in progress, with getting a few more buildings and some more ice. And um, but yeah, it's fun to watch the commitment that these teams put in, because at the end of the day, these owners know that if the kids go to the hockey games, they have to drag their parents, so
yeah,
it's more people in the seats. And like, there's before you know it, you're going to start to see these hometown boys getting drafted by their hometown teams. And what a great story that would be, if these some of these boys can start to get, their local boys are starting to get drafted to their local teams. And who knows, you could see one of them playing for their hometown team before you know it. You see it all the time in Canada and
yeah.
in other areas, and big cities, New York, Boston, things like that. But it's just a matter of time before you start to see it in our southern states.
Yeah, it's a fun and fascinating story to watch. And when you watch these World Juniors and where they, the Gord Millers and the Mike Johnsons and whatnot, where they talk about where these kids are from, and Craig Button, another one too. It's pretty cool to see. Let's move over to the NHL real quick here. Obviously, Dallas Stars, a team that you're following a lot, and you go to quite a bit of their games. Maybe not the scoring that they had in the past, but they're still in the fight. They're a really good coach team and a really balanced team. What are you seeing in the Stars right now? And do you think this could be that year where they finally get over that hurdle and Pete DeBoer finally gets that cup that he's, in my eyes, I think he's rightfully earned and deserved throughout his career. He's one of the greatest coaches of this game has.
Yeah, I really do. I think they've been banged up a little bit, through the month of December, but it starts at top, like with Jim Nell. He knows the right personnel to bring in, and then with their coaching staff and Spot and Nazardine and Coach DeBoer, like you're not going to find a better coaching staff that you hear from the other guys or you talk to the guys that certain when I see them or whatever, and it's just like, oh man, our coaching staff's the best. They really get it. They know the buttons to push. They know how to communicate to us like men. They're not demeaning us and putting us down. Like it seems like there's a really good mix in the room where he's got enough edge where he knows how to push the buttons, but he also knows that these guys are human and they're going to go through ups and downs. So it starts there. But then on our team, I mean, we have a great defensive core. They brought in a few pieces that have kind of been up and down. Dumba's struggle a little bit, but that's how it is. You come into sometimes you come into a new organization and it takes you a good 3 or 4 months to really find your spot where the team needs you. But we got some young guys that are starting to contribute a bit more, and Stankoven's, he's fighting a little bit of that second year, jinx. But I think at the same time we're finding ways to win, and that's not easy. And we're staying in the mix, even though we got that line of Duchesne, Sagan, and Marchment was just like our horse line. They're just carrying us, but it's forced some other guys to step up, and Rupe's been better, and a few other guys have stepped up, and our goaltending's been solid. So like if you really look at the lineup, when everybody's healthy, and obviously we got some cap space now, we'll probably try to fill that void a little bit. I think that they learned a lot last year losing to Edmonton, but you gotta taste it a little bit and have some bad tears before the good tears come in. And I think if we can stay healthy and get rolling at the peak at the right time, I think we have a really legitimate shot at taking the cup this year.
Where do you think is an area that you would want to see maybe if there's an improvement to make at the deadline just to give that extra jolt? Is it more on the back end? Is it
Yeah, I would my opinion, and again, I'm just a realtor now,
yeah.
but I would try to get a real heavy D man, like somebody that has a little bit of fear factor, good puck moving. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to find, but the window's closing. With the Stars, the older guys, Jamie and Tyler, and a few other guys, like they're going to be. Jamie's contract's up. I know they'll sign him again.
Yeah.
But the window's closing. They got to take advantage of it, and if they got to get rid of a few draft picks and a couple of young guys from the AHL team or draft picks. I mean, I think this is the year that they got to really, really take a look in the mirror and say, this is our window and light at the end of the tunnel's closing. So we better, try to find that solid D man that it just kind of solidifies that top four that, we have Rupe, or sorry, we have Lindell and Heiskanen, and um, this Bichelle kid's coming from the minors, been a really good addition. He's down in the minors again, but if we could get that top four heavy right-handed defenseman, I think that would go a long way and give those fifth and sixth guys, where they need to be. It would put them to their minutes where they need to be, and it would give them a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts quickly on a guy that we know, and you had a funny hit little incident with him back when you played was Alex Petrovic when he tried to hit you and he went into the boards over. back in Dallas. But he's the guy that we know through our podcast, and I know he's more an AHL guy and has been. But you think it's pretty cool to kind of see a story where he spent 5 years after playing for the Oilers, spent 5 years in the American Hockey League, and then got a bit of a taste last year in the playoffs, and he's only played 3 games this year, 4 games this year. But what Elliot Freeman always says this, and I maybe he said it to you, just to play one game in the National Hockey League, you're the elite of the elite. And I know there's an event recently that maybe it was last year. He talked about it to me that he was with you and Blake was there too. And I know he's kind of helps out with the Stars alumni and whatnot. He's part of that selection committee. But get your thoughts on kind of a story, just in and even not even if it's just for Petro, but it's for anyone that to get there, to stay there, but also when you do go back, you can get that road back to the NHL. It's just to stay in that league every single night. And I asked that because the career that you paved out and carved out for yourself, you opened the doors for a lot of people. It's like you talked about earlier, like you weren't drafted by anyone, any NHL team, and you didn't have those meetings, but put your right foot forward every day, the right attitude, and you brought it to the rink every night. And how hard that is to do that in the best league in the world, and it's only getting better too, right?
Yeah, it's like I remember always just dreaming, just like being able to give your mom and dad one game. Like I just like that was always my focus was like just if someone could, even when I signed my first NHL contract, it was like I just like I would have been happy to get one game out of it, so you could thank your parents for everything they gave you. Like all the driving and all the equipment they buy you. I just like that was my like I'd be driving in my truck and I'd be like, you're just like just one game, just give me one chance. Like I'm not going to hurt a team by just playing one game. And I actually tell this to my nephew Riley all the time. Like you just never know when you're going to get your chance. But yeah, you're right, Bosco. You get there and then you're like, oh wow, like I'm not that far off. Like but it also opens up the scouting and the management. They're like, well, he did pretty well, but there also could be that game. You could get your opportunity and it just lay the biggest egg, and you just never know if you're going to get that opportunity. So like it's like you got to find such a mix, like all this media and all these people that are like that have never been in this situation before, and they're like, oh, he was just awful his first game. Well, I'd love to see some of these people, not only mentally, but like you got to understand what goes on in your first NHL game. You have so many distractions. They bring your family in and you're saying hi to them in the lobby and you're get to the rink and you got to do an interview and you got to, sign a bunch of stuff. You got 3 or 4 jerseys because they always keep your jerseys and all that. Like it's like it should be a free game.
Yeah,
But where I'm going with this is every game my philosophy was and my mindset for every game was I'm earning another one. And like I want to like play next game and I if I have a stinker of a game, you're like, well, you can't have another stinker. You never have two bad games in a row. So like, you get to the NHL and then the hardest part is staying there.
yeah,
Because once you get there, it's like anything. Is you get a girlfriend and like 3 months later, you don't like her anymore. It's the same way with management.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they're always finding a way to replace you. They're always finding a way to find someone better, and they're always finding some way to find someone cheaper. So like for these guys like Joe Thornton's and these superstars, I mean it's a bit easier for them. But don't get me wrong, they have a skill set that most don't. But for guys like me and Petrovic and these guys that have kind of we're like scratchers and clawers to just stay in the game of pro hockey alone is an absolute grind. Like I mean, people would come in my house, summer house in Kelowna, and they'd be like, I'd get home, they'd be like, well, where were you? I'd be like, well, I was at the gym.
yeah,
Like it's 8:30, but you've been there for 3 hours and put it into work, and they're like, oh man, we wouldn't have never guessed you would have been working out on the weekends. It's like, well, yeah, but someone in your system isn't working out, and I got to beat them out again for a roster spot. So like, even though you're under contract and everything, there's pride. There's pride that you don't want to let your parents down, and then when you get a family, you don't want to let your wife down. You don't want to let your kids down and go home and tell them, hey, listen, Dad got cut today. I don't know where we're gonna go, but we'll figure it out. That was one thing that led me to be competitive and put in the extra work. Is I didn't want to let my wife down. I didn't want to let my kids down. I didn't want to let my parents down. Their pride, they're wearing their team jackets everywhere and things like that. So, it's a grind, but it's no different than other people's jobs. There's always, a grind that goes in every 9 to 5 job, and but a lot of stress comes along with it, and a lot of hard work comes along with it, and it takes a village to keep you in the league. But I was lucky enough to stay there 14, 15 years, whatever it was, and it set me up pretty good for life.
No, no, it's and brings you those good values. Like it is cool to see it. And I always kind of say that because, just over since doing this podcast and getting to know guys like you and, the Matt Bennings, the Petrovics and whatnot, and, now being like a media guy. And it's weird because like I'm up in the press box in Calgary and I'm kind of thinking the same thing you were just saying. Like, and I'm not to give any meat, like I'm not, it's not a shot against the guys that are up there, but I kind of, when they say the things that they say at times, I'm kind of like, I'm very fortunate to know NHL players on a personal basis. So when I get to understand what they do in the summertime, and it's like, guys like they're at, like you say, they're at the gym at like 5, 6 in the morning and they're there till like 10:30 or 8:30 or whatever. And it's just like, and it's every single day, and it's maybe taking one day off but then still having a family. It's it's more than just waking up in the morning and putting the pair of skates on and going to the rink. Like
Yeah,
much more to it. And with us bringing our minor hockey kids to the rinks and stuff like that, it's kind of like it's an extra. I try to like do it as less, but I'm also like there's such a big reward and the players like it too. So you try to
yeah,
gotta find that balance where you're not too much to distracting them. And I'm very superstitious. I don't text a guy that I go on a game day. Some guys like might like it. I don't know where you were at if you, but yeah, try to be careful on that. But it is cool, and getting to connect with Matt Duchesne here, just a random post we posted, and then he just replied back, and he kind of did a video for our kids, and and he's a believer, and I'm a believer. I know you guys,
yeah. Really good guy.
yeah, really good guy too. So, but yeah, it just puts life in perspective, and that's another guy. Look, he got bought out and he didn't know where his career was going to go. And then, so finds a good home in Dallas and, now leading that team in scoring and try to push for a Stanley Cup. But we'll finish up on this one, Fids. Right now we got 7 Canadian teams in the mix, in the fight, halfway through the NHL season. Bob Stauffer was on with us last night. I asked him the same question, which is, do all 7 make it, or is it less than 7? He said 4 of the 7 make it. Kind of wondering where you're at with the Canadian teams, and I know being a Canadian at heart, but living in the U.S. Maybe I know you didn't play in Canada through your career, but do you think it'll be kind of cool if maybe all 7 make it, or is it some of these teams up against it in some?
Oh, I'd love to see. I just got to pull this up quick here. I'd love to see all teams make it. Like Montreal has really turned it around. You'd like to, I always love watching the Canadian teams in the playoffs just because there's just so much juice in the buildings and outside. Um, but I think it's going to be hard for both Montreal and Ottawa to make it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is going to be tough like that.
But at the same time, like Toronto will make it.
Winnipeg,
Uh,
Edmonton, probably
Winnipeg, Edmonton will make it for sure, and then
the
you
Canucks, the mess in Vancouver, the
oh,
mess.
it's a mess. But I like to see Calgary make it too because they don't got many years left in that old building, and
Oh,
I just love that building, and I like that's one of my favorite. Like when I turn hockey on at night, that's one of my favorite buildings to watch hockey, and I don't know what it is
I love
because
it
I
too.
hate the Flames. I hate them. I'm an Oilers fan,
Yeah,
but I love watching, and I know in the playoffs like the Sea of Red and all that. Like I know those guys, they still talk about it. Some guys that played there, it'd be nice to see them have a couple more playoff games in that building before they move out, which I'm sure it'll be in a couple years. But
yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
nice to
They're
see them
they're
send
already,
off.
yeah, they're already building the new one across. So it's
Are they?
yeah, it's right across the street from the Saddle Dome. So yeah, it's a pretty it's gonna be pretty cool. Like, hey, like the last game I was there, it was interesting because they got jammed up pretty hard by the refs and someone Blake Coleman. So he came out to meet with us, and so he just shook his head, and I was like, man, he looks pissed off. So I was everyone didn't know who to ask the question first. So there's a good 30 seconds to a minute awkward pause, and I just asked him a question. He seemed pretty pissed off, and he gave a good answer, but it was kind of like I was like, is he gonna throw me through the wall here? But seems like a good guy. I haven't really chatted with him one on one yet, but maybe one day. But just asking him that question, and because you could see the passion he has in that market. And Michael Backlund's a guy that I got to know very well. And yeah, obviously the opposite. I would say I'm more of a Flames fan than an Oilers fan. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
but I agree. I think it'll probably be four, maybe five that make. Well, four. I think four will make it for sure. But then
Yeah,
I think the fifth one's up for grabs still. But it would the more Canadian teams, the
in
NHL won't like it with the Canadian dollar.
it can. Yeah,
But
I know
um,
that'll be the tough part. But it'll be interesting to see because the way, like, especially with Ottawa with Allmark's injury, if he can somewhat stay healthy, I obviously he's hurt, he's out week to week, and there's not even skating, but that's a big one. But Dovich for the Canadians has been a good find in the back in net. So, but yeah, and in Edmonton here, we'll see what happens. Skinner just got ran pretty hard here by Zadorov, just cleaned him right.
oh no,
So looks like Skinner's going to leave the game here. Zadorov just drove the net, and just literally smoked him. So he's looks like he's leaving the game. Yeah, I smoked his head on the twice. So.
where is that? Where's that? What game is that?
The Oilers versus the Bruins are
Oh,
playing right
oh,
now
oh,
in
okay.
Boston. Yeah, Zadorov just hit him, and then Skinner's head hit the post. So yeah, he looks a bit dazed right now, and looks like Pickard's coming in. And Pickard is coming in. So they're up 1-0. There's 5 minutes. I guess the last question I know since we're Bruins, I put it in the tease there. Jim Montgomery, obviously Boston lets him go. Someone that you know very well, and goes over to St. Louis, and he's doing pretty well there. And we'll see where it happens if they can get into the playoffs. I know they got some injuries too, but they got some good young players coming up. But thoughts on Monty as a coach, and were you shocked that? And I wasn't, but I don't know if you probably weren't either. Just how quick he got back into the NHL after Boston letting him go.
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised at all. I knew, the minute he actually got fired, I actually got a couple text messages from a couple teams asking like, "Hey, I know you know this guy really well. Like, give us what your thoughts." And I knew that he wasn't going to last long, and I, the minute I reached out and I just said, "Hey, Monty, keep your head up. You won't be unemployed long."
Yeah, it
He
was
made me
not.
look pretty smart.
Yeah,
Uh, right, like 5 days later, I actually got a chance. When St. Louis was up in Edmonton, I was there before Christmas, and they had 3 days off there. Because Taylor Swift was in Vancouver, so I got to hang out with him a couple of days and just pick his brain about the whole process and the ups and downs of it, and just how excited he was to be going back to where he kind of got his second chance, and his wife's from there. They still have a house, like very familiar with the staff and players. So like, what an easy transition it was going to be, and obviously the term of deal he got was super excited. But what a coach, man! Like I sat there with him watching Blake, and some of the things he says, you're just like, how do you see that? Like, and I knew when I worked with him in Dallas here, how brilliant his mind was and how quick he could process everything. And you know, he he's got enough arrogance where the guys really pay attention when he's talking, but he doesn't say too much where he overdoes it. He always just says the right amount, and just a brilliant coach that can really make those judgments and make those calls on the ice to make adjustments before it burns his team, and his way to process the game so quick is it's almost genius. Like it's incredible. He's just a smart hockey guy, and super happy for him because he's just one of those guys that is just the salt of the earth and just so much emotion into the game, and just how much he cares about not only his players but his staff. Just loves everybody and brings so much energy. So it's good to see him bounce back quick and seems to have that team rolling pretty good.
Yeah, no, and all the best to him, and all the best to you guys here, Fids. Really appreciate when you can take the time to get on with us. It means a lot. You are a very great guest for any podcast. I know other guys try to get you, and we're very fortunate enough to be the guys that do get you, so that do get you on. So there you go, represent the mutts. So, like,
Awesome, Bosco. I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, thanks, man, and all the best 2025, and yeah, continue selling, man. I love seeing those posts of you number one in the realty game. I know you've been killing it there, and that's probably a
Awesome.
lot of fun too, eh? So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon, brother.
yeah, for sure.